What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the No Continues Gaming channel. I am your host, Edge Master X, and I am coming at y'all with another deck profile. I would have to say I'm excited to do this one. This is about Unchained. So, first things first, I'm going to be going over the background of the deck. I'm going to talk about the different strategies, and ultimately I'll be showing you, from a gamer's perspective, how you should be playing Unchained. So a couple of things. I appreciate all of my supporters, my subscribers, and you guys are amazing. I've got a lot of videos, and I'm going to be definitely streaming on Twitch the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Master Duel. And then once I stream it, I'm going to be putting it onto my channel. So I'm planning to do some big things with that game. So if you guys like the content I'm posting, please consider giving me a like, subscribe, and smash that everything with no continues. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. Let us begin. So Unchained is a deck that I started playing pretty much on release. So the original archetype in the OCG started where they were calling it the Hakaishin, or Gods of Destruction. Anybody that watches Dragon Ball Z, you know where I'm going with this. Like, who doesn't want to be playing with the Gods of Destruction? That just sounds raw as crap, right? So what inspired me the most to like really learn the deck, other than the name, is the lore behind what the deck represents. It represents the Unchained twins, Aruha and Rakia, and then somehow they have another twin that's named Sam. They went kind of all over the place with the lore, and if you guys want, I'll probably, if this video gets to about 15 likes, I'll probably do a separate video going over the complete lore of the deck. But the strategy of the deck and the way it was designed is actually going to be the part that really is going to get you guys going, because this deck is based off of your monsters being destroyed. And by your monsters being destroyed, it basically sets your opponent up in such a way that they start getting on the back foot and losing more advantage on their end because they're destroying your cards. Well, Edgemaster, that doesn't make any sense. When I want to be destroying my opponent's monsters, I don't want to destroy my monsters. Well, young grasshopper, let me educate you. So, the main starter monsters of the deck, as well as extenders, as well as the cards that get you into the big parts of your combo, all have an effect that happens when they're destroyed. Also, your boss monsters do things when they're destroyed. They just continue, the cycle just continues to the point where you start going into a realm of destroying your opponent's cards and ultimately putting them in a situation where they just literally can't keep playing, because either A, you're outgrinding them, or B, they just cannot keep up with the advantage that you're starting to put up in preparation to OTK. And this deck can OTK literally out of freaking nowhere. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile, right? All right, so we're definitely going to start off with the monsters in the deck. So the key monsters that you're going to start out with is, we're going to start off with Unchained Twins Saruma. So this is the main starter of the deck. So what Saruma does is, when you summon him, he can actually, once per turn, you can target an Unchained card in your graveyard, set it to your field, and then destroy one card on your field. And I'm going to be going over more of his applications, but for now, that's what he does. The next card is going to be your next starter and extender. This here is going to be Unchained Twins Aruha. So Aruha is another big important step in the deck, because what he does is you can target a card on your field, destroy it, and when you destroy that card on your field, what's going to happen is Aruha summons itself to your side of the field. So when you use his ability, do keep in mind he does lock you into Fiend monsters for those examples. The next is going to be Unchained Twins Rakia. So what's going on with this bad boy is Rakia has the ability to quick effect destroy one card on your side of the field. Hopefully you guys can see that better. But he destroys one card on your side of the field. And what's going to happen is, if he, like I said before, all the Unchained monsters, they say whenever they are destroyed. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just trying to get this better camera. But anyways, they all say, you know, when they get destroyed, they special summon another Unchained monster from the deck. The next monster we're going to look at is going to be Unchained Soul of Disaster. I am playing 3. Most people are playing this either at 1 or 2. So here is my perspective, and then this is going to go into what I mean, like from a gamer's perspective in my videos. But when you're playing like certain games, and you're playing in, especially like fighting games, you're going to be wanting to pressure your opponent as much as possible, and you're going to want to go ahead and always keep the momentum. And this card just keeps the pressure and the momentum going all the time. What this card does is he gains 300 attacks for every Unchained card in your graveyard, and then you can target a monster your opponent controls and then use it to link summon. And that ability in a grind game can completely just shut your opponent out and just completely just kill them. So I'm definitely playing 3 copies of Unchained Soul of Disaster. Also keep in mind that when you're talking about like strategy games and things like that, especially games, you know, like chess and just games that you're getting into your opponent's mind, I'm a big mind games kind of guy when I'm playing people. So sometimes I make very snide comments, or I'll say things to get my opponent to react a certain way. And this deck suits my play style a lot because I do like to do those kind of things. So when you're applying cards like this to your strategy and just trying to get into your opponent's head, you're going to get a lot more utility, and you'll be able to play this deck a lot differently. I'm definitely going to tell you to play 3 copies of this card. I wouldn't play any less, but I am playing an over 40 card list, so my list is able to play that. And then our final monster that's in the Unchained lineup is going to be 3 copies of Abominable Unchained Soul. Whenever any card on your field is destroyed, you can special summon this guy from your hand, and then he can you can discard a card and blow up 1 card on the field. It does not target. And then on top of that, if he leaves the field after he comes back from the graveyard, because during the end phase he can special summon himself, he does go to the bottom of the deck. So you're maxing out on all the names. There's 5 monsters, so 15 Unchained monsters. The next biggest 2 cards are Unchained Soul of Malice and Unchained. Wow. I said Unchained Soul of Malice. I call them Unchained monsters because that's basically all you're using them for. But the real name is the Dark Spirit of Malice and the Dark Spirit of Banishment, guys. So essentially what these cards do is the Dark Spirit of Banishment is your battle phase stopper, because what he's going to do is if your opponent declares an attack, you can special summon a monster from your graveyard that's a level 8 fiend, and your opponent is forced to attack into it. So I'm going to go over the applications for that later. And then the Dark Spirit of Malice, whenever your opponent activates a card effect, you can special summon a level 8 fiend from their grave. The great thing about both of these cards is they do recur themselves. So basically what winds up happening is if a level 8 fiend goes to the graveyard in any kind of way, they add themselves back to your hand. Next, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Tour Guide and 1 copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. You could argue playing Tour Guide at 3. I like it at 2 because I'm mainly trying to focus on my Unchained plays. And let's be honest, if your opponent has Ash, Valor, Imperm, they're going to use it on this card. And generally speaking, if this doesn't resolve, then you have a hard time getting to the meat and potatoes of the deck. And if you don't have an Unchained card to kind of back up the Tour Guide play, you're just screwed. So if I wasn't playing Fiendish Rhino Warrior, this would be a 3rd Tour Guide. But I like the applications of this card in the combo, which we'll be going over later. And then this is the most controversial part of the deck, and then you guys are going to be like, well, you should be citing these cards, not main decking, but we're playing 5 Kaijus. We're playing 1 copy of Gamma Seal, 1 copy of Jujutsu, and 3 copies of Radiant, the multi-dimensional Kaiju. The reason why we're playing specifically these 5 is for this. Radiant is because he's a fiend, he plays into the strategy of the deck. It doesn't need to be explained too much. The reason why we're playing Juzukiro is because we are playing the field spell, and Gamma Seal is for the reasons that I just mentioned. We're playing the field spell. I actually was able to OTK somebody because I went field spell, summoned Juzukiro to my side of the field, literally removed 3 counters, your opponent can't activate anything for the rest of the turn, and then swing 3 times, and that's game. And then Gamma Seal because he's got game in the name. Alright, so for our spell cards, we're playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. For our draw cards, we're also playing 2 copies of Supply Squad. So you're playing 2 Supply Squad because you want your cards to be destroyed anyway, and they let you draw, so it's like a no-brainer. And then Pot of Extravagance because this card says draw 2. And then for our next spells, for consistency, we're on 3 copies of Kyoto Waterfront. If you open up this and combo turn 1, you're probably gonna. I'm just saying, this card's crack insane. It's just nuts. And then we're playing 3 copies of Abomination's Privilege, for somebody who can think of the name. So this card is nuts. I want to take a second to talk about it. So you're playing this because when it searches any Unchained card, you cannot set this off of Sarma. A lot of people think that Sarma can set this, but you cannot set it with Sarma's effect. But there have been applications where I've actually just set this face down because I know my opponent has either Ash or a card to negate this, and then walk my opponent into destroying it just so I can get some residual value. But this is going to be the most cracked card in the deck by far. And then 2 copies of Wailing of the Unchained Soul. A lot of people are not playing this in their list. I don't know why. This card is just too good to not play. If we do get a way to search it at some point, I would recommend cutting this down. But I'm playing 2 just because you're going to be in situations where this card can come up and is useful. And as you can see, I'm mainly playing a going second build. So this card going second is good. And then our last spell card, this is going to be Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. So the way this card works is you blow up all monsters from the field, summoning 2 Kaijus, one to your side, one to your opponent's side. It's literally a dark hole that gives you advantage because it blows up all the monsters, which is what you want. For traps, we're maxing out on both Unchained trap cards, and we're playing 2 copies of Trap Trick. So essentially, here's the mindset behind this. In my opening turn, I want to try to get into the important parts of this deck. So these traps all serve a purpose and they're all important. Escape of the Unchained lets me break boards. Then you've got your 3 copies of Abominable Chamber of the Unchained. So this card lets you basically special summon monsters to break boards. And then Trap Trick is literally an extra of either name. And then another great thing, application about Trap Trick, is legitimately in a grind. When you need to see those other 2 cards, you can access what you need. But you don't want to max out on Trap Trick because this build was mainly made for going second. And we're running a total of 8 traps. We've got a little over 40 cards in the main. This particular build has about 44 cards in the main. So the way I figure is every 5-card hand, I should be seeing at least one of my traps, or 6-card hand, I should be seeing at least one of my traps. That's pretty much the idea behind it, because normal Unchained combo plus a trap is just devastating. You're going to be taking your opponent out of the ground very easily, especially with the Kaijus coming in to just screw up their board. And now looking at the extra deck. So I'm maxing out on all the names. There's just no reason not to. So we're playing 3 copies of Unchained Soul of Rage, 3 copies of Unchained Soul of Anguish, and then 3 copies of Unchained Abomination, mainly because we are playing Pot of Extravagance. So to briefly explain these cards, if you're new to playing this deck, this guy is cracked because he takes any 2 monsters to make it, and one of them has been Unchained. And so we're using typically your Disaster, which if you remember is the level 8 guy. I call him the Defender. Whenever I'm playing people, I call him my Defender because you're mainly sending him in defense. But you're using your opponent's monsters to make this guy. In the lore, this here is Rakia. So the Unchained monsters, their twin aspect is their monster forms. So this here is Rakia. It takes your opponent's monsters during the main phase, only the main phase, do remember that. And then essentially what he's doing is he lets you link climb into any other monster in your extra deck, pretty much. In your extra deck, not your opponent's extra deck. So Not that that needed to be said, but why not, right? So if he gets destroyed, he floats into a monster from grave. Unchained Soul of Anguish is now Rocky is next form. I'm sorry, Aurora's next form. And essentially, the way this bad boy works is he, on your turn, lets you link some of your opponent's monsters, and he's a link 3. And he does the same thing as Rage when he gets destroyed. He goes ahead and floats a monster back from your graveyard. And then the boss monster, this here is going to be your Saruman. What happens with this bad boy is he goes ahead whenever a card on the field is destroyed, he destroys another card on the field, but not by his own effect. So if he uses his effect to destroy something, he doesn't get his effect again because he destroys something, if that makes sense. So essentially, the way you're using your extra deck is you play it very sparingly. When I'm educating people playing this deck, especially newer players, like I had a friend of mine, when he was playing his back row decks, he had a hard matchup, and I was trying to tell him this deck is very good back row matchup because your cards naturally grind. Don't overextend and overuse your resources when you're literally playing against your opponent and putting them on a back foot. Because every time that you're resolving one of your Unchained cards, if they're playing a back row deck, they're having to use 2 traps, not 1, to break your board and put you in a disadvantage. So we're maxing out on all the names because, again, we are playing Pile of Extravagance. Your main combo card is Cherubini, Ebon Angel, the Burning Abyss. This card is just absolutely insane for this deck. What we're playing also is 1 copy of Topologic Bomber Dragon. The way he works, he's another Link 4 that can be made off of your Soul of Anguish or Rage if your opponent has a Link 2. His ability is that whenever a monster is summoned to a zone he points to, special summon by the way, he blows up all monsters in the main monster zone. This card right here for the deck, it's like holy matrimony. So just 1 copy though, because you can win without him. Because if he uses his ability on your turn, you can only attack with him for that turn. You could play either one of these cards, but we got 1 copy of Borolo Dragon, the original, and then 1 copy of Access Code Talker. You could play either one. I wouldn't play both. To be honest, you're going to get more use out of Borolo than you will Access Code. The only reason why you'd be making Access Code is because he's typically bigger than your opponent's monsters by the time you make him. But you're only going to be able to blow up 1 card per turn. So I recommend playing Borolo. But, you know, that's totally up to you. You can determine which one you want to play based on your own testing. 1 copy of Phantom Knights of Breaksword, 1 copy of Gossip Shadow, and 1 copy of AA Arsenal Zeus. So the reason we're playing Breaksword and Gossip Shadow is you're typically not going to get their effects off, but you're playing Breaksword because Breaksword's application is he can blow up 1 card on either field, on both fields. So sometimes you get some use out of that because you'll pop a back row, pop one of your opponent's cards, and then you just get more pluses. Another reason why you're going to play this card, or you consider playing this card, is because you can use him, pop something, and then swing into something, and then you can just overlay into your Zeus. This is pretty much the main reason why we're playing this. And 1 copy of Gossip Shadow. Another, like a big reason why we're playing Gossip Shadow is because he can take 2 or more level 3s. So, and then he is a negate that lets you guys both draw a card. So there's not many applications you're going to make him, but if you ever have like Dark Spirit of Malice that you special summon off a tour guide, and then your opponent might have Nibiru in their hand, you can just straight up just make this guy, and then if they go monster effect, negate, both y'all draw a card, and you just keep playing. So there's not many times you are going to make him, but he's still a card that you can play nonetheless. So that is the deck profile. Just to show you guys a quick combo on this deck before this video gets too long, is pretty much you really just need a tour guide, because what you're going to do, and plus an Unchained in hand definitely helps, but you're going to normal summon your tour guide. What tour guide's going to do is it's going to special summon Dark Spirit of Banishment. So you get these 2 cards in rotation, and then what's going to happen is you're going to link summon using these 2 guys. You're going to go into Cherubini. So your Ebon Angel, the Burning Abyss. what's going to happen is you're going to use the effect of Cherubini to send one Fiend monster from your deck to the grave. So you're going to go ahead and send this copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior from your deck to the graveyard. When Fiendish Rhino Warrior is sent to the graveyard, he sends any Unchained, no, I'm sorry, Unchained, but you're mainly using it for Unchained. You're going to send any Fiend monster from your deck to grave. So, I said wrong earlier, Cherubini sends a level 3 Fiend, that's why you're sending the Fiendish Rhino Warrior. But off of the Fiendish Rhino Warrior, you're going to be sending your your Unchained Soul of Disaster. And then whenever Disaster is sent, you add back your Dark Spirit of Banishment back to your hand. And then that is your normal combo with just Tour Guide. If you do have any other extenders, you can go ahead and play them here. But if your opponent goes battle phase and attempts to swing into your Cherubini, for instance, you can special summon, or not special summon, you can use the effect of Dark Spirit of Banishment. You're going to discard it to special summon your Unchained Soul of Disaster to your side of the field, and their attack is automatically redirected into this 3K Defender. So that is how this deck starts the grind, because once this dies, you get your Dark Spirit back. You can't use it for the rest of this turn, but now you just more than likely absorbed at least one of your opponent's attacks. And then your your Unchained Soul of Disaster will also go off, special summoning one Unchained monster from the graveyard except himself if you had one. But that's only like one portion of the combo. There's so many other combos, and I do want to make this video longer and go over a lot more combos. But I would go ahead and just make a separate video for that, really just kind of breaking down how to properly play this deck. But ultimately, the Unchained variant with the Kaijus is the best version of the deck because it just allows you to grind. It automatically gets rid of your opponent's negates. I would put this deck up against almost any other deck in the format, in the game, just to be frank with you, just because normal summoning an Unchained and then you Kaijing over your opponent's monsters, activating your Kyoto Waterfront, plus having the ability to play a spell card which nukes the board, forces your opponent to negate it. Like, if you think your opponent isn't negating Kyoto Waterfront on activation, they're insane. Because literally, if any card goes to the graveyard, now you're searching for Kaijus, on top of being able to just swing directly into your opponent's stuff, and then the Unchained naturally chain block to prevent your opponent from using their abilities and their effects. That can just be absolutely just devastating, guys. So, if you like this video, if you like my content, please like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button with no continues, and remember, guys, continue to play, survive, beat everything you can in life. Just do it with no continues. It's your boy Edgemaster signing out. Peace.